So I've been getting quite a few requests from mothers who are thinking about becoming single mothers. How did Cara do it? With some advice. Again, I'm not the expert. I am just sharing what worked for me. And by looking at my son and where he is today, I think I did a pretty darn good job. And so I'm just going to start. The reason I became a single mother was because I didn't have parents that emulated what a healthy relationship would be like. And I know I'm kind of blaming them. I'm not accepting responsibility. But after the first boyfriend and getting pregnant with him, I did step up to the plate. And I realized that if I stayed with this guy, it would be really terrible for my child. As a parent, as a mother, my goal was to protect my child from outside forces that would affect him negatively, but not outside forces that would teach him how to become a self-reliant person. And I had to take into consideration what he was looking at, what's going on. Is he seeing his mother being yelled at, even beaten? Or is he seeing his mother, happy or struggling to make ends meet, which is a more positive thing? He has told me in later years, how thankful he was that I did leave that abusive relationship, because he probably would have been in jail or prison for murder, because he was not going to allow any man to disrespect his mother or hurt me. And can you imagine the guilt I would feel if I stayed in an abusive relationship and put my child through that and then had to come visit him in prison for... It happens all the time. You hear about it all the time. And I just didn't want that. So now here I am, a single mother raising her child all by herself without any financial help from the father. So what did I do? Well, I had to quit my job because I needed to raise my son. I did not want to put him in daycare or an institution or hire babysitters to watch him. But I did need an income. So I tried to find anything I could do. I did work in fast food restaurants for a minute. And then I started to clean homes. And 3 hours a day, 4 hours I was gone. Then I would depend on my family, my father, my brother, or I had a nice second boyfriend. His grandmother would babysit the child for a few hours while I was at work. And it worked. I was there. I was able to be with my son. And when he would see me after I came home from work, there was never any anger or bad moods. He was so grateful and so happy and excited to see me. It was just lovely. And I see kids now, and I read about it. The parents pick them up from daycare, and they're terrible. Their mood is rotten. And so one of the things that was really vital for me raising a child alone, especially a son, was I had to show him who was boss. He always tested me, and I think that's nature for kids to do. But something I realized very young that children need is a sense of security. And that security comes from the parent. And if the parent isn't a strong, secure parent that is able to say no in a rational manner without screaming or arguments, that's what the child needs to feel happy, safe, and secure. So I did instill that. I told him, look, the person who is in charge, the person who pays the bills, they are in charge. It doesn't matter who we are or how smart we are or how well we do in other areas of our life. We all can be pulled into arguments. Therefore, it is crucial that we learn ways to avoid those arguments. We need to think about what we're going to say and how well we say it in order to avoid an argument or just say nothing at all. The goal is to reinforce limits without screaming in arguments. And if you're just strong and calm, I can't stress calm enough, and maybe talk in one-word sentences or few-word sentences, you'll get a lot further than you will if you engage your child in arguing. It takes two people to argue. If you don't engage in that, there's no arguments, okay? Another thing that is really important is leading by example. My son watched me struggle, and I wasn't perfect. We did have arguments when he was 16, but I remembered, it was very few and far between, because I always tried to practice those one words, very calm, come at him in a calm way. In boot camp or in war, when a bomb goes off and you see everyone going, oh my God, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And the drill sergeant is calm, cool, and collected. You know why? Because he's been through boot camp. He's been through that. He's fallen down. He's picked himself up. He knows what to do. Therefore, you need to let your child fall. Let your child make mistakes. Don't spoon feed him. I see my birds, it's like a nature show in my backyard, a live nature show. It's so beautiful seeing these mother birds teaching their babies how to be self-reliant. I see them going for worms, going for their mother with their mouths open, and their mothers are like, no, you feed yourself. And I see them, they eventually okay, she's not going to feed me. I have to do it myself. But if that mother bird fed her baby, spoon fed him those worms, what's he going to do when she's not there anymore? What's she going to do if something happens to her, if he finds himself all alone? That's the same thing for humans. You cannot spoon feed your child and give in to his every whim. You have to teach him there's consequences to this and that. And you have to fall and pick yourself up, because when you do, that's how you learn self-confidence. And we want to teach our children self-confidence. Let him fall in the pool, but you're there to pick him up and rescue him if he's drowning. If he's not, wonderful. He just learned how to swim. They're throwing toddlers in the pool, teaching them how to swim, so that when mommy's not around or not looking and they fall into the pool by accident, they could just go swim themselves up. I'm talking 2-year-olds. In that same sense, it's falling into financial problems. If you're always there to bail your child out of its financial straits, then how is he ever going to learn how to do it for himself? If my parents spoon-fed me everything, and then I'm all of a sudden 21, single mother with no help or nobody around, I would have been in a homeless shelter. I don't know what I would have done. But my parents didn't help me. I had to survive and help myself and figure out how I was going to do things. And in that same sense, my son saw me struggle and figure things out. And now when I released the reins on him at 18, I saw him fall, and it broke my heart, but I saw him pull out, and that was the best feeling ever. And I know there's mothers out there that are afraid. They're dependent on this man for financial security, and it's scary leaving them. But if you do, there's always ways to succeed, and you're showing your child that you don't have to depend on anybody. You could do it yourself. There's hope. There's light at the end of the tunnel. There is always a way. You have to be creative. There's so many resources out there now. Friends, family, resources with the internet. And your child is a sponge. They're watching you. They're seeing how this is. And when they see you pull out, they're like, wow, this is possible. And then when they fall into hardship when they're older, they're not afraid. They're like, yeah, I saw my mom do this. I can do this. I know it's scary. I was terrified. But you know what? Thinking about the other end, what could happen if I stayed, was even more terrifying. I know the fear of the unknown is scary, but seeing what could have happened, I couldn't take that chance. And I'm so thankful I didn't. Now, I want to read you a letter that my son wrote when he was 19. I don't remember the circumstances, but I cut and pasted it and I printed it out. And I said, put this in my casket during my funeral, because it's just the most beautiful thing a parent wants to read when they're older. Okay, so let me read this. Okay, my son wrote this when he was 19 or 20, and I'm going to share this with you. It is so pertinent. Growing up with just my mom was the most beautiful, fun thing in the world until I was 5. My earliest memories were of us playing and me being the center of love for my family and their friends, but especially my mom, the only one who really mattered to me. After that, times got harder and harder, and it seemed for a while that my mom couldn't handle me. But boy, was I wrong. By high school, we went through what felt like a lifetime of problems and came out with nothing but love in our hearts for each other. She's female, yes, but since I grew up in so many different places, I never had friends. So she played the role of mother, father, and friend perfectly. I had to. I had no choice. I had this little soul depending on me. She instilled fear through discipline, which I always fought back. Most people would give out at a certain point, but my mother was a fighter and never backed down. She always growled louder than I did, and I respected that. See? That is staying strong to your and true to your convictions. If you don't want your child to go out to this party and you say no and he's pushing and pushing, you have to stay strong to your convictions. If you give in, then he's going to know, that if I do it this long, I'll get my way. Anyways, as angry as I was, she never let me get away with disrespecting her or myself. It was hard at times being with just my mom, but as we pushed through the hardships, I realized she's the reason why I was able to overcome any and all hardships or disadvantages I've been facing in life. With a smile. Usually when people are in what seems like a hopeless life, they turn to drugs or alcohol or, in my age group, gangs. Instead, I watched my mom struggle putting money together so she could buy self-help books on how to be successful, think positive, and be a good parent. This broke my heart that she couldn't have a safe, secure, and normal life. She worried about what I would become. Yes, I always worried about what he would become, because it would break my heart to have given birth and mothered this child that is a homeless person in the streets or a drug addict. I would have committed suicide. So, yes, I always worried about what I would become, and I saw her trying everything she could to keep me from being an angry young man, while trying to keep herself from becoming a helpless young woman. Watching her suffer and pull herself up from the bottom over and over again was mind-boggling to me. Seeing her strength and determination to be happy stopped me from being a teenage rebel that would only cause her more pain. To this day, I'm still in awe of her power, strength, and determination to always improve. The only difference is now I'm not the only one she's inspiring. And as hard as it is to believe she's the same person that would cry herself to sleep with an endless road of obstacles she had to face as a single mother, I'm not surprised she is where she is today. I always knew we would pull ourselves out of despair and pain so long as we had each other's backs, the will to improve, and a positive attitude. I knew this because my mother showed me firsthand through her actions. The road to success is paved with failures, and I've seen her pave the road to where she's at with my very own eyes. Okay, that is coming from a child that had a very strong mother. However, he did see that I am human, it was hard, and I would cry sometimes, and I'd feel hopeless, but that hope is so important, and that determination. I was so determined. I was 110% determined to not raise an angry young man, because I see angry young men. I've seen them since I was 20. I love observing people, all walks of people, and I love learning from them and taking things away that might improve me. And I would see angry young men, and it really broke my heart. And I always said to myself, I would die of a broken heart if I had an angry young man. So, single mothers, your main goal is to raise a happy, healthy, successful child. And if you're going to put him in an environment where there's violence and sadness and yelling and arguing, he's not going to, his outcome is not going to be like that. It's just going to be completely different, and you're going to be working against him. So I just gave my son everything I could, and I didn't pay any. It was free. It was free. It didn't even cost any money to raise this happy, successful, healthy child. So I hope I gave you a little inspiration to get out of a horrible situation if you're in one. Cleaning, I think being a cleaning lady is one of the most proudest things a struggling young mother can do. It enabled me to create my own schedule. I didn't have to work many days. I was my own boss. It was wonderful. And I was working out, for crying out loud. So that's my story, and I hope my story has encouraged you that you can, if I can do it, you can do it. Okay, so I hope this helps. I hear my little bird out there. He's chirping for food, but it's a mother, and she just gave birth, so I can help her. All right, guys, I'm going to end this now. Thank you for sharing your time with me, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.